Hi, everybody. Sarah, Andrea. Hmm. I just drew a card for everybody, so I was just reading the description, which is perfect for our session today, of course. So I'll share that in a few minutes. Welcome, everybody. If you have an essential oil nearby, I invite you to grab it. I just did that with this joy oil, one of my favorites. It's rose and lemon, along with many other things. For me, I associate it with the heart and the heart chakra and that joy, that de-armoring of the heart. Hi, Beth. Welcome. Thank you. My favorite flower, frangipani. Interesting for our topic today. We're going to continue the book study. There's Nothing Wrong with You. And even in looking at this flower, it's very clear there's a spot on the flower, and also there's nothing wrong with the flower, although there is a brown spot. So another perfect metaphor. This flower is still whole and complete and is perfect in its essence, even with what could be perceived as an imperfection. It doesn't take away from the perfection of this flower. In fact, even this flaw can be looked at as even making the rest of it more beautiful. Because if this flower did not have this spot, maybe we wouldn't notice the beauty as much as we do. And this is the flower that, these are everywhere in Bali. They're my favorite flower, as many of you know. And just happened to pick up that one. And y'all see, I put these behind my ear. It's a very traditional symbol of Bali. And I love doing this and the symbol of this for myself and my connection with Bali that y'all know I have. So, hi Ginger, welcome. Amy and Rose. Everyone here. So, we will be doing some more book study on the book There's Nothing Wrong with You, Going Beyond Self-Hate by Cheri Huber. If you're just joining for the first time, say hello, and don't worry. If, hold on. Wait a second. Ooh. I forgot to flip the microphone, so perhaps that made a difference in the sound. So it doesn't matter if you don't even know what I'm talking about, if it's your first time, if you're not following the book study, if you're here intermittently. Just trust that you're finding this at the perfect time. If you're seeing the replay, randomly running across this, just trust that. If you do want a copy of the PDF of this book, please send me a private message. And don't forget to follow me here on Insight Timer. Don't forget to give a donation if you care to, as well as check out my many meditations here in the app. I have a couple paid ones or premium tracks and many free tracks. So, is there anybody that is brand new to me that wants to say hello? If not, I'll just jump right in. I will make one announcement that we're coming up on like just over a week away from the launch of the money mindset program that I'm super excited about. And a number of you are already signed up for and participating in. It starts June 1st. It's going to be a really powerful, transformative space for those who are ready to transform your financial life. Reach out, send me a private message if you want to apply to be considered for the program. I am offering a scholarship spot. If that's, if cost is an issue, let me know. I also, on my website, have a web page called Money Mindset Program. Check that out. Send me a message if you want to hear more. So, I drew a card in preparation for our session today. I love how many, I can't see everybody's bubbles right now. For some reason, they're not showing up as normal, but the ones that I see, there's like so many people with flowers in their profile pic, which is so cool because of my flower and the message that already came through with the flower. So I drew a card just for a message for everyone as we dive in deeper. And I drew from Osho Zen Tarot, and the card is Beyond Delusion. And butterflies are another symbol for me personally. A very powerful symbol that means a lot for me. So in the context of the book we're reading, There's Nothing Wrong with You, looking at this idea of going beyond illusion. The illusion is that there's something wrong with us, right? And that's what this book and the theme of its teachings is reminding us, that there is nothing wrong with us, and that the invitation is to go beyond the illusion that there is. So I'm going to read the description for this card from the Osho Zen Tarot app. And I invite you to take this in and see how this resonates for you with your life and also through the lens of this book. The butterfly in this card represents the outer, that which is constantly moving, and that which is not real but an illusion. Behind the butterfly is the face of consciousness, looking inward to that which is eternal. The space between the two eyes has opened, revealing the lotus of spiritual unfoldment in the rising sun of awareness. Through the rising of the inner sun, meditation is born. The card reminds us not to look outside for what is real, but to look within. When we focus on externals, we too often get caught up in judgments. This is good, that is bad, I want this, I don't want that. These judgments keep us trapped in our illusions, our sleepiness, our old habits and patterns. Drop your opinionated mind and move inside. There you can relax into your own deepest truth, where the difference between dreams and reality is already known. You can't make this shit up. As always. So when we drop out of illusion, out of externals, out of what's seen and perceived, out of judgments, good, bad, right, and wrong, we go into the consciousness, the I am, which is the essence of who we all are. And that essence is innocent. is without flaw. And so even through the context of this book, There's Nothing Wrong with You, it's about releasing all the layers that are on top of that essence, unlearning, unbecoming, and consciously choosing ourselves, choosing to be on our own side. So I'm going to be reading from the book. So if you already have the PDF, let's see. So in PDFs, there's like the actual application, and then the page there, and then the actual page, right? So in the app, the page is 179, but in the actual book page, it's 164. So if you are following along, if not, that's fine. And again, if you want a copy of the PDF, send me a private message. Hi, Jamie. So, anybody have any questions or comments before we dive in? Going once, going twice. Okay. So if you are new, and if anybody's new to this book series, let me know. But it goes between narrative and then like question and answer from what is labeled as the guide and the student. So sometimes there will be like a dialogue, and sometimes there will just be like narrative. So right now, at the top of the page on 164, the student is speaking. And I'm just going to jump in from, last time, and we'll land together. So trust that. So the student is speaking. As far as I know, it is only when we hold the notion that something has happened this way, but it should have happened that way, that we can say, well, I had this experience, but that is the one I was supposed to have. I don't think so. Oh, no, that was the guide. I'm sorry. That was the guide. It's not super important. Now the student is saying, from the perspective of the part of me who believes in failure, none of what you're saying makes sense, and yet what you're saying makes sense. Guide. That's why when we look at these issues, it's very helpful to come back to center, the present moment, to look at them, because self-hate is invested in failure. The payoff for failing, as long as you fail, you get to keep trying. As long as you fail, you get to keep trying. So you have to do it again. I don't have it quite right, so I have to do it again. Student. How could that be a payoff? Guide. It maintains egocentricity, my place at the center of the universe. The whole universe is hinged on, will I succeed? I will say again what I've said so often. The reason acceptance, simply accepting what is not more popular, is that in acceptance, there's nothing to do. Egocentricity is doing. And remember, self-hate, egocentricity, fear, the illusion of separation, is ultimately concerned with only one thing, maintaining itself. So in the book, as y'all that have been here know there's this label of self-hate that the author uses. Another word for that's egocentricity. Another word for that is the illusion of separation. Another word for that is fear. So y'all have heard this before. The motivation of the ego, of that separate self, of that self-judgment, the making the self wrong, is it's got to stay alive somehow. So it's working to keep itself alive, however that may be. Hi, Mishi. So please jump in with any questions or comments. As I say often, this material's dense. Just don't make yourself wrong if there's a story that you're not getting it or having an idea about it. Just trust it's okay. However you're showing up, whatever you're receiving is exactly what you're meant to. And also trust that you're finding this at the perfect time because you're meant to hear it. And it may land on a deeper subconscious level. So just let this in. Don't be scrolling elsewhere on your phone right now. Don't be watching Netflix and having one eye there and one eye here. That's not honoring and respecting yourself or the material. So this is your life. So it's meant to be like a meditation, a being in presence as you take this in, or if you're hearing the replay. So remember, self-hate, that label of all of whatever that is, all of those things, it's ultimately concerned with only one thing, maintaining itself. So one thing that I see in myself and I see in my clients and many on the path is we are a project to be fixed, a problem to be solved. And so even that is the perpetuation of maintaining the self-hate. There's something wrong with us. I've got to get somewhere. How many times, and I've heard it a million times, have y'all heard teachers, spiritual teachers saying, the barrier to enlightenment is thinking there's somewhere to go, when in reality, it's happening right now. So that's the trap. Okay. Continuing. I suspect we focus on learning from our mistakes, beating ourselves up over them, because that keeps us from paying attention to what we are doing now. Remember, as long as you are out of the moment, self-hate is in control. Because if we're fully present, then we're not in illusion. Our consciousness, who we are, can only be accessed in the here and now. Anything else is a thought and a projection into past or future, and concepts and ideas. Non-acceptance is always suffering, no matter what you're not accepting. Acceptance is always freedom, no matter what you're accepting. I talk about this a lot, that the only problem is resistance. Another way to say that, the only problem is non-acceptance. Resistance is non-acceptance. Non-acceptance is always suffering, no matter what you're not accepting. Acceptance is always freedom, no matter what you're accepting. And that can only happen in the now. A definition of suffering: trying to get and hold on to that which we like, and trying to avoid and eliminate that which we do not like. Does that sound familiar to anybody? The other singer fans here, and community members that follow me, we say this often. Preference. Having a preference. It's one of the Four Noble Truths of Buddhism. The cause of suffering is attachment, desire, resistance. So these might come up against your stuff. Notice that. And it's nothing wrong with that. It's good to notice. Because we want stuff. I mean, I want stuff. And then we always go back to, there's nothing wrong with us, right? It's coming out of this paradigm. It's about a noticing and a practicing, an experimenting, a playing. My favorite page from Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer, and I share this often, basically says, his surrender experiment was done in 2 very simple steps. 1, releasing like or dislike. Like when he noticed, when he was in the world in a moment, in an experience, noticing the patterns of like and dislike that formed inside his mind and heart, doing his best to release that. And then there's a sense of clarity when after releasing the preference. And then with that resultant sense of clarity, look to see what is being asked of the moment unfolding in front of you. What would you be doing if you were not influenced by reactions of like and dislike? And for him in his life, he says that has taken his life in a very different direction that his preferences would have led him. And you can read his memoir, The Surrender Experiment, to see what kind of mind-blowing life experiences he had. Continuing. Whatever is struggling or discontent or suffering or afraid is that which needs to be accepted. So notice within yourself right now, in your life, in this moment, when you tap into the mind, is there discontent, struggle, suffering, fear? Notice that. This is your invitation to accept that part. Not after the live stream, not in a minute. Now, Thich Nhat Hanh has a theme of how he says to work with these sorts of things. I mean, it's very Buddhist, and this book is very Buddhist. Michael Singer is very Buddhist. That you can say, breathing in, I welcome the struggle. Breathing out, I accept the struggle. Breathing in, I welcome the suffering, the fear, the discomfort. Hi, Duchess. Yeah, what a noticing. And this is the bravest work I believe we can do. I totally get that. Appreciate that. Suffering is grace because it brings us to the acceptance eventually when we've suffered enough. So, continuing the book, life is very short. We do not have time to be frightened. We do not have the luxury of allowing fear and hate to run our lives. This is it. We are here for the blink of an eye. Self-hate and the illusion of control. We're tense and stress-filled, trying to control life. We tense up, hold on tightly, and feel that we're making something happen, what we want, or keeping something from happening, what we don't want. If, in fact, by tensing up, we could control life, we'd be foolish not to. However, what we know is that being tense, being filled with stress, does not enable us to control life. It doesn't work. Aren't we then quite foolish to maintain the tension? Because with this tense, no control situation, we have two problems: tension and stress, and no control over life. In a no tension, no control situation, we would have only one problem: no control over life, which can be experienced as frightening or freedom. We can't control life anyway. If we want to say that is a problem. So if we come from tension and stress to try and control life that we can't control, so if we release the tension and stress, we at least release the thing that we can control. So there's the acceptance, the relaxation. What would happen if you just stopped everything right now in this moment? Stop. Stop efforting, trying to get somewhere. Stop trying to fix, control, manifest. Effort. Do you see how attached your ego is to that? And that keeps the ego alive. Who all knows Gangaji? I've recently found her. She's an American spiritual teacher that her guru was Papaji, who was very famous. And her story is that she, is just like us on the path. And the moment that flipped everything for her was when Papaji said, "Stop everything. Stop everything." And she actually did. And then there was the awakening. the enlightenment, because the ego had nothing to attach to then. So as the book said earlier, acceptance is not a popular thing to do because it's a not doing, it's a releasing of doing. Hi, Louise. Yeah. Eckhart Tolle says, is suffering necessary? It is until it isn't. How are y'all doing? Hi, Sharon. Welcome. The book is called There's Nothing Wrong With You, Going Beyond Self-Hate by Cheri Huber. If you want a free PDF copy, send me a private message. I can also send an audiobook link. Yeah. Big one, Duchess. Self-improvement is suffering because it's the illusion that there's a self to improve. That's what this card was saying, right? If y'all caught that in the beginning. If not, you can watch the replay. It's in the first few minutes. It'll be up later. Ego is illusion. The separate self. So when we continually are on a self-improvement journey, it's a trap. It keeps that illusion alive. This spoke to your soul. Great. And I want to say I'm not speaking from a spiritual hilltop here, that I'm somewhere else or above or beyond. No, I'm in the audience with you. For me, these teachings light me up and are truth that speaks to my soul. And as a student of these teachings, I'm here to transmit that from, a place of just passing this on. So, next page. We have no control, but we think we should have. Letting go of the illusion of control will not make you more vulnerable. It will make you more relaxed, peaceful, open, receptive, joyful, and calm. Remember the last page said, when we try and control life, we have tension. Then we have two problems: tension and stress, and no control over life. What we can control is stopping the tension and stress, because we still don't have control. So then you're without control, but more relaxed, peaceful, etc. Children don't have control and don't think they should have. Yes, but look what happens to kids. Life is life, with or without the illusion of control. Children feel the pain of life. Pain and suffering are not the same thing. Suffering happens when we're taught to believe that what is happening to us is wrong and a mistake, and we should have prevented it. We learn to think of life as reward and punishment. If I'm good, good things will happen to me. I get what I want. Eat your peas, then you can have pie. If I'm bad, bad things happen to me. I don't get what I want, and things will be withheld from me. You didn't do your homework. No television for you tonight. We learn to believe that if we exert enough control, if we are how we should be, and we can have only the good things in life and keep anything bad from happening to us. Oh. We learn to believe that if we exert enough control, if we are how we should be, we can have only the good things in life and keep anything bad from happening to us. We learn to believe that what happens to us is the result of how we are. Life punishes us when we're bad and rewards us when we're good. By the time we're adults, we're firmly entrenched in things are going my way. That means I'm a good person, or I'm not getting what I want. I'm being punished for being bad. This is what's going on in a nutshell. We've learned to believe that self-hate, that relentless onslaught of judgment, criticism, and blame, is what prevents us from being cruel, exploitative, selfish, and indulgent. And that without being constantly watched and controlled, we will be hateful and harmful. So if we punish ourselves, then that keeps us from being selfish, cruel, exploitative. If we don't continually punish ourselves, then we'll be hateful and harmful. Self-hate won't prevent the abuse of little children who are currently in little bodies. And it won't prevent the abuse of little children who are currently in big bodies, such as your own. The only way we're ever going to stop abuse in all its forms is by ceasing to believe that punishing people makes them good. The only way we're ever going to stop abuse in all its forms is by ceasing to believe that punishing people makes them good. You cannot be nonviolent if there's any part of you that you are in opposition to. You are not truly serving if there's any part of yourself to which you will not extend compassion. Your love will always be conditional as long as you're excluding any part of yourself from it. So let that wash over you and notice the parts that hits. And you are the bigger space of loving awareness. Your intrinsic nature is loving awareness. Make this your mantra. I am loving awareness. That is who you are beyond the illusion. And when you can recondition yourself or decondition yourself from all the self-hate that we're talking about, ground into I am loving awareness, that opens space to accept all of these parts. Duchess releasing this punishment complex. Amazing. Suffering cannot be healed through self-hate. Only through compassionate acceptance can suffering be healed. If we accept, if we open ourselves, life will transform us. If we release the illusion of control, if we resist, if we try to run away, the pain and suffering are reinforced, and we deepen the conditioning that causes us to suffer. When we embrace, when we embrace, the pain wears the suffering away. So Duchess, you sharing, working with yourself this weekend and the ego and having a rough go of it, which is common. How many can relate to that besides me? When you remind yourself, I am loving awareness. I embrace all of this now in this moment. The pain, this wears the suffering away. If we can be willing and patient, life will work its magic on us. All of this is here to help you. Even that fight in the mind. Little by little, all that is not compassion will be stripped away, burned away from us. The pain and suffering of holding on to our beliefs and fears will become so great that we will let go. And each time we let go, we find peace, relief, ease, and a growing sense of gratitude and compassion. "88 meditators here, so we'll stop for a moment. Breathe. Allow all this in. Notice. Acknowledge yourself for being here now. Great. If you are new, if you've joined in late, don't forget to follow me here. If you appreciate this space, give a donation if you'd like. If you care to reach out to me, if you care to go deeper into this work for yourself, I do work one-on-one with people, as well as I do have my group offering starting next week. You can check my website, follow me everywhere, all that good stuff. Meditation will take care of it. Student, I wake up in the night afraid of dying. I don't know what to do. Guide, meditating will take care of it for you. You will be able to experience directly what you are labeling fear. What is fear actually? Well, I'm afraid I'm going to die. You are going to die, that's true. Are you dying in this moment? Not so that it shows. Is it an experience you're having, or is it an idea you're holding on to? What would that sensation be without those beliefs, those labels, without that conditioning? You wake up, everything is fine. A thought comes through, the fear follows it. Then the voices kick in and you're off to the races. There was nothing going on before that. How did you get there? What happened? Hi, Jennifer. Glad you're here. Britt, welcome. The book is called There's Nothing Wrong with You, Going Beyond Self-Hate by Cheri Huber. You can just join in now, take in what's happening. I do have replays available for all my live streams. If you want the free PDF of the book, send me a private message. I can share all that with you and anyone else. So I want to share an experience about what I just read from this page about fear. How many of you can relate to waking up in the night afraid of something? Death, whatever. So I'm working with a husband and wife pair of life coaches here in Bali where I live. I'm really grateful, and like the synchronicity of that's been amazing how that unfolded. And so I got to meet them in person yesterday for an in-person session, which for me, is a novelty, living and working through this avenue, one-on-one with my own coaches. So it was a very deep process that we went into. Very deep, like somatic, holistic, energetic. Going back to the roots of, where dynamics from childhood originated in the energies. And what was interesting is, there was a point where an intense fear, almost terror, came in. Can anyone relate to that in some way, either waking up at night or maybe being in breath work or meditation or energy healing or deep dive sessions, inner child work, or anything like that? I noticed this almost terror come up. Some of you can relate. And I just, I want to acknowledge myself because this experience unfolded, and then there was the witness and the observer behind that experience that noticed, oh, there is fear. There is fear. Okay, there is fear. It's resistance. The fear, the resistance is showing up as fear. I've seen this before, especially in breath work. Have any of y'all done holotropic breath work, anything? I've done it many times. In the beginning of my breath work sessions, every time, around 10 minutes in, just when we're getting going, this overcoming sense of resistance, a wall would come every time I breathe through it, and then it would magically pass. So I had prior experiences, and I had enough seat of consciousness in the moment yesterday, enough awareness and presence, and also being held in a safe container to when this terror came over me, I was able to be with it, be the observer of it, label it, hold space for it. And then it moved through. It was a layer that once I stayed with it, because before, it's happened many times where I would get caught in it. I would get identified with it, Then there would be stories about it, and then the mind would get involved, and then it would then turn into my reality, and then I would get lost, and then it would be not a pleasant experience, and that's happened. I saw that pattern, that old pattern wanting to come in, or that wanting to come in, and now there was something else. So this is the journey in this minutia of an experience, this tiny moment. That's everything. And you hear it, like we hear it in spiritual teachers and teachings, and just be with it, and the fear will come, and just let go. And yeah, that's easy to say when it's not happening. But when you feel that visceral terror, fear, it's a very real experience in that moment. So, I didn't let it distract me that I moved through. It was like a layer. I dropped down a layer. I went through that layer. I didn't get attached to it. And then I went deeper. It disappeared totally. And then I was back in the somatic experience. And it happened twice. There was another layer, a deeper layer. And because I had just had that experience, and it feels like life or death, because it's the ego feeling like it's dying. It's like releasing the ego attachment. It is death. It's ego death. And so then I had another one towards the end of the session, and again, because I had just worked with it before, and it's like, and again, the mind went, oh God, again, and then here's that, there is the fear. There is the fear. I relaxed, I witnessed, I observed, I breathed. And then it moved through. I stayed present. I didn't get involved in analysis and thoughts. So that was a really, powerful moment. Joe, glad you're here. This is definitely for you. So what can you take even from my story that can help you right now? Jamie, feels like it's almost impossible. So almost impossible means not impossible, means possible. Doesn't matter if it feels like 1% possible. There's that 1%. And I always say this in my coaching, if somebody's like, oh, that can't happen for me. If one person has done it in the history of humanity, it's possible. So you have a direct experience right now of somebody telling you, I moved through this, and you can too. And, if you don't, there's nothing wrong with you. And if I would have gotten identified with the fear and lost in it and had a meltdown, there's nothing wrong with that either. So. You're welcome, Sharon. It's a testament to all of this journey and the practice. So I'll continue, and then we'll wrap up. Student. Oh, and Joe. This is interesting. Student, there were times when I would stay awake all night. Guide. Believing every bit of what the voices in your head were saying, right? So, you begin to see how that kind of process has served a purpose in your life. Now, the purpose may be no more complex than it perpetuates self-hate. It keeps you down. It keeps you terrified. It keeps you stuck. It keeps you safe. You start to take a risk. You feel the icy hand around the spine at 3 a.m. You knock off that risk-taking. Just get back to that safe place. Start doing all of those behaviors that make egocentricity feel in control and feel safe. Narrow that world down. Do what you're supposed to do. Beat yourself mercilessly, and then maybe you'll be all right. Through practicing here at the Zen Center and through paying attention in your meditation, you begin to suspect that what's really going on is a process that has nothing to do with what you think is going on. You begin to see that there are certain times when these patterns happen. You begin to notice that they are in fact patterns. You are no longer believing them. You're bringing it back closer and closer to the sensation that's actually triggering it, and you realize there's no such thing as fear. That's sort of what happened with me in the noticing. It was a sensation in the body that had, feelings. There was sensation. I noticed. And I feel what made the difference for me is there was something behind the fear, what we call the seat of self or the seat of awareness. And that's really what the process of awakening is establishing the seat of awareness that's behind the thoughts. There was that. So there was a separation of just not, oh my God, I'm terrified and I'm going to die, really is how it feels. Beginning to wake up, beginning to not take it personally, beginning to see that life isn't anyone's fault. It just is, and you just are, and it's all just fine. So we're going to stop there. Yeah, Sharon leads to overthinking and then can't sleep. Hi, Violet. Yeah, 108 meditators a few minutes ago. So, Joe, you notice the patterns, the habits, and you try to break it each time. We just do our best. There's nothing else you can do. Like in the moment, waking up at 4:20 in fear. And if you do get to overthinking, I do it. It happened to me last night. I usually, I don't sleep well. I wake up every night, blah, blah, blah. So this is the crux of it. Releasing the self-hate around, I'm not doing it right, it's not good enough, I go back into the old patterns and I go into overthinking. So there's the invitation. It gets to be okay. One of my favorite mantras is, invitations. Can I be okay that I'm not okay? in this moment right now. Truly. If I can start to bring in those moments the idea of I am loving awareness, that brings a sense of softness, because how many of you can relate besides me to when I get into that, there's just contraction and harshness and criticalness and judgment and I'm bad and wrong. There's no love, there's no compassion, there's no softness, there's no acceptance. It's like that blame. And it's like, again, trying to punish ourselves into being good. Hi, Deb. Welcome. So, I am loving awareness. I'm okay that I'm not okay. It's okay. Hi, Laura. So, we'll wrap up now. If you haven't already, give me a follow. I'm going to see when my next live is. Friday night in the West, Saturday morning in the East. And then, of course, Saturday Night Live this weekend. Please acknowledge yourself for being here now. With this information. And just trust. You know, you're hearing this because you're ready to, because it is accessible for you, because it is possible for you. You know, not everybody's ready for these messages and teachings. So, thank you, Duchess. Peace and blessings to everyone. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with you. And even if you think there is, there's nothing wrong with that. You are the loving awareness behind all of these illusions. You're welcome, Amy. And when we start to establish compassion for ourselves as our go-to, the whole world opens up and we soften to everyone. And don't forget, I have my track called Total Surrender on my premium tracks. If you want to go into a space of surrendering and letting go, I feel some of you that definitely will be powerful for you. Thank you, Rose. Joe, you're welcome. Thank you for sharing. And your vulnerability opens space for others to be vulnerable. And also, when people do share vulnerably, they're speaking for others who are not. So you're giving voice to everyone here who maybe is laying awake in fear and too afraid to say anything, and that's okay. So, yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.